Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care. Now, here's your host, founder, caregiver, and CEO, Suzanne Newman.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Answers for Elders radio network with the one and only Lori La Bey from Alzheimer'sSpeaks.com. And we have just gone through a little bit of story of Lori's background with her mom, but Lori is an amazing resource out there, including appearances with Oprah Winfrey and Maria Shriver and all different types of people that we know about. So she is incredible and had been in many ways a little bit of a mentor to me, although you didn't know that, but I've listened to many of a podcast from her. And Lori, I'm so glad that you're with us this hour. It's such an honor for us to have you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here and I love the work that you're doing. So
thank you. Thank you. It's amazing when we think about, when we both started, in this world, we were both doing other things and we found ourselves on this path of, there has to be something better for families out there. There has to be something. And I know that I started Answers for Elders due to that need. And I used to have this vision of myself because my whole life had fallen apart with caregiving, which so many of us do. And what I kept visualizing for myself was the phoenix rising from the ashes. I really wanted to, move forward in my life and do something great. And I think that's you too.
Oh, definitely. It was built out of frustration, but it was also built out of encouragement from others that saw my journey. And they realized, I think more than I did, that I was really coming from a different perspective and that I had a voice. And I wasn't afraid to use it. And so they really encouraged me, to step out of, I was doing real estate at the time, and I focused on seniors and their families and supporting them. And, and my whole piece there was about, we have to focus on abilities versus disabilities. We have to focus on commonalities versus differences. And I think that really lays over to dementia as well.
It does. Absolutely.
We so like to categorize people and stick them in a box and then throw them on a shelf and toss them away. And we all want to feel purposeful and included, and we all deserve that, dementia or any other illness.
Very true. And I think one of the things that you touch on is the fact that I think it's important for us all to take our experience, what we've done, and reinvent ourselves. This is a wonderful opportunity to kind of figure out, what did I learn most? What have I gained most through this process? And how do I use this experience for good the rest of my life? And I think that's the gift in all of this. Like I always say, caregiving can be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, but it can also be your greatest privilege. And taking that privilege and doing something with it is really, in my mind, one of the greatest aspects. So you obviously started Alzheimer's Speak due to, many aspects, but how are you different? There's other people out there that, that are doing great work in Alzheimer's, but you're a speaker, you're a counselor, you're a coach, you're so many things, which I think is so cool.
Well, a lot of people say pick one thing and do it well. And what I did was I wanted to be a megaphone for everybody. I wanted to lift everyone else's voice because Lori doesn't have all the answers. None of us do. None of us ever will. But the best thing we can do is to invite other people into a comfortable conversation and raise their voices, raise their perspectives, their services, products, tools, all of that. And like myself, I didn't think I had anything special to share. It was other people that saw it in me. So I kind of want to be that one that ignites that little spark in others to say, you have a lot to offer. And people living with dementia and families, they're not book smart. They are street smart. They are family smart. They are every day, 24/7 dealing with this smart. So why aren't we going to these people? And what I found in our journey was myself and my dad were kind of ignored as care partners, and my mom wasn't even acknowledged in the conversation at all.
Right.
And I thought, to me, that's just downright sinful and disrespectful.
It is.
And yet society has this belief that, doctors have all the answers, scientists have all the answers, and they would like to. I agree. And they have a lot of them, but they don't have them all.
No.
And I think dementia is a team sport. We learn from one another. We can support each other, and we can kind of play better and live better, by sharing. So Alzheimer's Speaks was born by, I started with a blog because, again, people were pushing me out there. Yeah. And I'm a girl from Minnesota. I didn't even travel. We went up to the cabin. I mean, I was just kind of hometownish.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I start this blog, and people around the world are resonating with our family stories. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're really not alone. And there's so many people feeling just like me. So from there, I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay in real estate, or am I going to step into this? And I decided all bets down. I took my savings, my retirement, and said, I'm going to try to make the world a better place, big or small. But I can't sleep at night if I don't. And this has become my life's purpose.
Yeah.
And let me tell you guys, it's not always easy. I have my screaming matches with God at times, going, throw me a bone or I am out of here. Something's got to change, when I'm not feeling enough progress and enough collaboration. But I wanted to raise people's voices, and I wanted to use different platforms. So that's when I started the radio show. And, I interview people all around the world, people with dementia, families, researchers, multitude of businesses, advocates, you name it, everyone is welcome. From there, I started Dementia Chats, where we use a platform, Zoom, and I facilitate a conversation with the true experts, those living with the diagnosis. They pick topics, and we have tons of topics. They worry about their care partners. They worry about how they're talked to and treated, and they see what's working and what's not. So there's great information there. We launched the first dementia-friendly community in the U.S. in Wisconsin with the Lutheran Home Association. People are like, well, how did you start that? And I'm like, I'm a single gal. I don't have this big corporate entity to butt heads with. And I decided to go for it. I made a pitch, someone bought it, and we did it. And we just move forward. And I don't believe in perfection. I believe we need to be fluid. I don't believe in failure. I think failure is about learning to improve. I don't think there's one set little process that's going to work for everybody. So again, to me, even if something's working, I'm always looking at how can we still improve it.
Right.
And what do participants and others looking at this think?
Sure.
We brought over the memory cafes from the UK, and same with the dementia-friendly communities. Those weren't US concepts, they were shared concepts. But I like to think that I listen to all levels, because I don't think we can make sustainable change if we're not inclusive. And I think that that's been a big problem with our government and our healthcare structure. It all comes from one entity down. And to me, I think the change is really, we're seeing things come from the floor up, the people up, and they're pushing change.
Well, and I think too, one of the things that I start to see that's happening is mental health is no longer a bad thing to talk about. Where before, it was kind of a stigma. Nobody would ever want to talk about mental health. And obviously mental health takes a form in different ways, but I think Oprah has been really amazing about that piece, about talking about it a lot. And even back when she had her show years ago, there was a lot of things talked about, but I think she kind of was one of the trailblazers that kind of open that door a little bit. But we've had a lot of opportunities now, all the way now she's doing this show with Prince Harry, right? Talking about mental health and different types of things. And Maria Shriver is another one that has been incredible in helping us say that, we can talk about Alzheimer's now. We can talk about these things that they were kind of shoved under the rug, like grandmother and grandfather was, they were in, another place or in a nursing home and nobody talked about them, and there was this stigma. I remember they called it, senile and all this kind of stuff that they used to years ago. They did shock treatments, horrible things, and I think about now, my own grandmother, same thing. She didn't know who we were at the end of her life. The only person she really kind of knew was my mom, and because my mom was there every day. But, when we look at that and look at how we're evolving, part of me thinks we've come a long way. And another part of me thinks there's so much more that we need to go, because there's so much hesitancy about people getting help early. I see a lot of times when I talk to families saying, I know that we probably need a formal diagnosis. I know my dad has dementia or Alzheimer's, but I'm scared to get the diagnosis. There's just this feeling of, if I go to a doctor, I'm going to be in a situation. And so what you do is kind of help that bridge. I think, wouldn't you say that that's the piece that really you're in?
Well, it's funny because people are like, well, then I'll have to deal with it. You already are. You already are. You just aren't tapping into any support, and there's so much support out there that people don't know about.
Yeah. And so, obviously, in this segment, we want to talk about a lot of those educational resources, and you have a lot of them. So Lori, before we go to our next segment, how do we reach you?
Again, go to alzheimerspeaks.com. And for those free educational resources, there's actually a tab. Just click on that and you will have tons of great resources.
Yeah. And also Lori has a lot of podcasts out there. So if you're a podcast listener, which I am assuming you are, because you're probably listening to the show, I'm really excited for you to check out Lori, because she's an incredible resource. And I consider her an absolute colleague and somebody that I trust immensely, and a friend. And Lori and I, my friend, will be right back right after this. We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.